Hello everyone. So today I welcome all of you to the sixth video of our the English speaking spiritual channel. So if you recall, in the previous video, in the fifth video, we discussed about the Zen Buddhism and its associated practices and how the transmissions of Zen Buddhism take place and how the normal Buddhism, the Dhyanic Buddhism from India, evolved into Zen Buddhism in Japan. So the Zen Buddhism is another school, specifically falls under the Mahayana main school of Buddhism. And in today's video is actually dedicated for another sub-school in Buddhism called Vajrayana. So the Vajrayana Buddhism has been popular in history and also nowadays as Tantric Buddhism, because in addition to the basic practices that we find in Buddhism, we have some Tantric elements in that practice. However, the Vajrayana Buddhism is not so popular it was not so popular until 1970s. So it was mainly limited to the regions, several specific regions in the world, and it was mainly practiced in countries like Tibet, Bhutan, and also certain areas in India like Himachal Pradesh. So the Vajrayana Buddhism is somewhat similar to Zen Buddhism in many aspects, in many different ways. Why? Because both of these Buddhist schools inherit their teachings from Mahayana tradition. So the Mahayana tradition, in all the sub schools that come under Mahayana tradition, the aspirants are actually trained to become bodhisattvas, and the aspirants have the inspiration to become and attain Buddhahood for the benefit of others, and they also consider other people to also have the same potential of becoming a fully enlightened Buddha. So this is the motivation also for the Vajrayana practice. But the Vajrayana practice in a way is unique in a way that it provides an accelerated means to reach the full enlightenment. In one of our previous videos, we discussed about the bodhisattva stages briefly, and I was explaining these bodhisattva stages aligned to the Nagarjuna's bodhisattva stages depiction, so that you find many corresponding elements between these two explanations. So the Vajrayana tradition, people from Vajrayana tradition, practitioners of this tradition also follow the bodhisattva path, and therefore they also have to go through the same bodhisattva stages, starting from the bodhisattva Bhumi 1, and they gradually develop it into they gradually develop through several bodhisattva stages, and finally they arrive to the 10th Bhumi, and that is where they are getting entitled to become a Buddha. And in addition to the normal the bodhisattva path that comprise of these 10 bodhisattva stages, they also have these unique teaching methods, unique teaching styles, and also the techniques that are unique to Vajrayana traditions called transmissions, the lineage transmissions. So these lineage transmissions are also available, exist in Zen Buddhism, but in Vajrayana Buddhism they have a uniqueness to its transmission. So we are going to also discuss about this information in this video, and the content covered in this video and the information that mentioned in this video are basically coming from deep and independent and unbiased study, and also some of this information come from our spiritual lineage practice. So our spiritual lineage in Sri Lanka, which was called Universal Mind Training, that was initiated by the great enlightened master D.A. Jayasuriya in 1970s. So His practice was also based on this bodhisattva path, the bodhisattva stages. So he also embodied a lot of tantric qualities. So some of this information in this video actually also come from our lineage teachings. So please go through all the information and let us know what you think about the content in the comment section. So we have a beautiful figure in this frame, and as you can see, there are three well-renowned masters, four renowned masters from all the Buddhist traditions. So we have a master from Theravada tradition, and then general Mahayana tradition, and Zen Buddhist tradition, and the rightmost figure you have a Tantric teacher. So then in this figure, what I am trying to explain is, end of the day, all these four different jhanas finally boil down to one jhana. How come? Because all these jhanas at the beginning base their understanding, base their fundamental teachings in in the basic teachings of Buddhism, like Four Noble Truth and impermanence and also the emptiness. But then due to the different aspirations the practitioners have, and also due to different paramitas that they have to practice, they work on different paths. But at the end of the day, their mind purification stages and the mind purification techniques and eradication of defilements and everything, they all come down to the single practice, which is called the Eightfold Noble Path. So the Eightfold Noble Path is a unique practical means that we find in all four Buddhist traditions. So that I have to specifically stress at this point. And none of these schools should be known as heretical schools, because they all find their roots in the basic teachings of Gautama the Buddha. So that is how all these different Buddhist traditions finally boil down to the same source or the same teaching. So now you are seeing the spreading of Vajrayana Buddhism from its source. So its source is essentially the universal form of Buddha, and it is usually referred to as Dorje Chang. So the Dorje Chang, the universal form Buddhahood, has several qualities. So it has the normal, essential, enlightened qualities as well as tantric qualities. So all these qualities will be embodied by the physical form of Buddha. So that is the Nirmanakaya master. And then from this Nirmanakaya master, the teaching will be passed down to other practitioners, as you saw. Okay, now in this segment you see another interesting figure. So here we have these three renowned Vajrayana masters from the Kagyu lineage. So the Guru Marpa and his foremost disciples Gampopa and Milarepa. So in one of the interesting fact in the Vajrayana Buddhism is the karmic acceleration, or absorbing the karmic energy through the lineage, so that the students, the practitioners can come to their realization quickly. And because of this very reason, the Vajrayana path is referred to as the shortcut path. Well, when we discuss about the Vajrayana traditions, we know that we find two main branches in the Vajrayana practice, the lineages. One is the lineage that started from Guru Sarhapa. So Sarhapa used to be a great Vajrayana master, and another lineage that started and finds its origin from Guru Padmasambhava. So this lineage is what we call the Dzogchen lineage. So in the Dzogchen tradition, and also in Sarhapa's Mahamudra tradition, we find the Vajra as a ritualistic object, and we see this Vajra, two-pole Vajra, in many of the Vajrayana rituals. And in fact, it has a tremendous importance, where Vajrayana practitioners always make sure that they keep this Vajra in their hand while doing the chantings and while engaged in ritualistic practices. So, what does the Vajra exactly mean? What is the true meaning of this two-pole Vajra? Well, according to the ancient wisdom, the two-pole Vajra essentially means that the balance of the universe between the existential force, which actually run by the sexual energy, not only of the practitioner but also of the entire existence, and the Buddha nature. So the Buddha nature is the highest form of energy one can be attuned to, right? So the Buddha nature is what we try to achieve, or what we try to be attuned to with the help of meditation or with the help of spiritual practice. But again, the existence cannot run without the support of the sexual energy. So the sexual energy or the existential energy is an inherent part of this vast existence and this universe, so that one form of force, one form of energy cannot um, stay independently without the other one. So there's an interdependent behavior, interdependent link between the Buddha nature and the existential force which runs this cosmos, which runs the existence. So this is what the esoteric meaning behind the two-pole Vajra. Behind the two-pole Vajra. Yeah, now we see the two branches that that came into the existence from the origin of Buddhist Tantra. So, as I mentioned, one branch is known as the Mahamudra branch, and under this branch, there were well-renowned Tantric masters. For an example, the masters who founded Kagyu Tibetan lineage and also Nyingma Tibetan lineages. And most of these masters later uh, passed down their teachings to many disciples, and through this lineage, one of the Buddhist Tantra teaching as Mahamudra came to known as Mahamudra. It spread it across to the other part of the world, and then um another lineage line came through Master Padmasambhava. So the Master Padmasambhava is said to receive these teachings from the universe, and then these teachings were passed down to his disciples through many lineage holders. And this lineage also has links to the Nyingma tradition, and both Kagyu and Nyingma traditions are the most popular tantric lineages, where the teachings uh, were passed down as oral instructions and as well as pith instructions. So both of these lineages are quite important if you want to join and practice, um, and also get yourself introduced to the Buddha nature. So as you can see, the forefathers of both of these lineages, Mahamudra and Dzogchen, they find their roots in India. So they were basically Indian masters. So these Indian masters first received these original teachings from the universe, from the Dorje Chang, or the universal form of Buddhahood, which had tantric qualities. And then, due to some regional reasons and due to some religious reasons, they had to travel to Tibet, and most of these Tibetan practitioners, for an example, including Marpa Lotswa, they are the people who had first contact with these Indian masters and then received this teaching first. So, for an example, in the Mahamudra tradition, the first Tibetan practitioner is Marpa Lotswa, and he received his teachings first from Master Tilopa and then from Naropa. Both were from India. And then when these tantric teachings came into Tibet, um, the evolution of the tantric tradition or the Tibetan Buddhism, it looks like this. As you can see in the image, um, the Tibetan practitioners try to assimilate the Buddhist teachings with their pre-existing religion called Bon, and then they found a new tradition, a blend of the Buddhism, Bon tradition, as well as some of the local folk belief system and some practices, ritual practices. And that's how the Tantric tradition came into existence. The Buddhist Tantra tradition is important in several ways. So, in Theravada Buddhist tradition, we only talk about the transcending of the self or the transcending of the consciousness, because our human mind, in its inherent nature, is limited. But the human mind has a tremendous potential to know about this vast cosmos or the universe or the mind of God, and that can be only achieved through undertaking a spiritual practice or meditation. When we come to the Tantric tradition or the Vajrayana branch, we talk about the other extremes or the other possibilities of transcending our human mind as well as our physical body. So, if you take all three schools of Buddhism, starting from the Theravada to Mahayana and Tantrayana, um, using all the yogic techniques, we cover three possible levels of transcending our mind and human body. So the first one is transcending our human mind. So that is where the meditator reaches the fruition mind through meditation. And then the second one is transcending of the physical body. So that is where we become free from the fake self or the subtle bodies inside our physical body. So this is synonymous with the death experience or the complete annihilation of the individual or the ego death in most of religious traditions. It happened to Gautam Buddha. It happened to also Jesus Christ. But the third stage is the subtlest form of transcending our physical body and mind, which is going beyond the five elements or the six elements. So we know that our physical body, the physical structure, is created from the basic, the six elements, right? So we have this air element, water element, um, earth element, and the fire element. And then all these four elements can be combined and can be focused in the consciousness element. And all these five elements together can be transcended by engaging in spiritual practice and also by doing meditation. So this topic is deeply discussed and deeply presented and emphasized in Buddhist Tantric tradition. So I think not only the Tibetan Buddhist practitioners but also Gautam Buddha as well as Jesus Christ had the possibility also to reach the last transcendence level. And in a nutshell, this is also called the rainbow body phenomenon. So the people need to understand that the rainbow body phenomenon is not a magic. Well, you could say it's a kind of a magic, but when you go deeper into that subject or the yogic elements that is associated with this rainbow body phenomenon, it is essentially knowing and going beyond the physical structure of the five elements. So, for an example, If you take the air element, if you take the earth element, the earth element is essentially about the roughness. Earth element is essentially about the grossness of the element. So we have this universal energy, we have this gross, the God level energy, but the God level energy is so subtle that we cannot even give any attributes to it. That's why we say that the God or the Dharmakaya or the subtlest state of our mind is without any attributes, so that we cannot really know it. So it is unknowable. However, when it comes to the lower level manifestations, we get the earth element, we get the air element, fire element, water element, and finally the consciousness element. So these are lower level manifestations or low vibratory level manifestations of the subtlest energy state. So if a meditator can reach a level that wishfully he can transcend all these five elements and find their true nature. So that is what we call the rainbow body phenomenon. So many Tibetan masters in the history of from Nyingma and also Kagyu traditions, they were said to attain the rainbow body phenomenon. And more importantly, Master Jayasuriya from our universal mind training spiritual lineage, so he also said to have attained a similar state. And if you look into the book of Buddhism Transformed, written about Sri Lankan Buddhist tradition in the 1970s, he is explaining his personal experience, so that once a yogi has united all three bodies, the Nirmanakaya, that's the gross body, Sambhogakaya, intermediary body, and the Dharmakaya, the subtlest state of the mind, then his physical body can be transcended, and his physical body will be visible. Well, the universal energy will manifest through his physical body, so that you can even see the light, extremely bright light that is piercing through the muscles and flesh of the physical body and even the bones. So this is what we refer to as the rainbow body phenomena. I think the first level rainbow body phenomena. So the Master Jayasuriya also had this experience, but he came to this realization by his own effort, and he didn't have any teacher. So I think in the most recent history, Master Jayasuriya is the one who had actually come to the first level of rainbow body experience. So how do we graphically represent this attainment? So in this figure, as you can see, the figure represents the awakened seven chakras in the body. So the lowest one is called the root chakra. So that represents the earth element. Second one, water element. Third one, the fire element. Fourth one, the air element. The throat chakra is essentially space, because that is where the air flow actually goes through, and that's how also we're making the sound. And then we have the third eye chakra, and finally the crown chakra. So between the third eye chakra and the crown chakra, we have the consciousness realm. So the consciousness realm is the area or the realm where our mind is created, so that anybody who reaches the consciousness realm through meditation, yoga, or by any kind of spiritual practice, they can develop the form meditative absorptions and formless absorptions. So through meditation, if one can activate all these chakras, and one can transcend the physical body, as we mentioned, then the universal energy will incarnate into this physical body, as you can see in the second image in the right hand side. Then we say that the yogi has gone beyond both his mind, the physical body, as well as the five elements. So this is what we call the complete transformation, and the complete transcending of the mind and the physical body. So what we can actually learn from this transformation? Well, in Buddhist tradition, specifically in Buddhist tradition, we try to see the true nature of everything. So in Theravada tradition, we basically talk about the true nature of our suffering, the true nature of the physical phenomenon, the true nature of our bonds and attachments, and then we try to be free from this suffering. In Mahayana tradition, we try to see the true nature of the universe, the true nature of the cause and effect principle, and we try to understand the universal mechanism. But in Tantric tradition, we go further step forward and then try to learn the true nature, the mechanics between the mind and body combination, and then we learn how to transcend the human mind and human body, so that we develop our yogic sadhanas and yogic skills to the level that we can even go beyond all five elements. So that is how all these Vajrayana and Tantric Buddhist yogis were claimed to have, um, you know, have this possibility or the potential to even disappear their physical body, to clear their physical body and dissolve their physical body to light elements while they are passing. So that is the science behind the rainbow body phenomenon. Thanks for watching.